You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The 2022 ASEAN Chairman, Prime Minister Hun Sen, has shared three main features of Cambodia's experience in achieving peace. These include openness to negotiations, ensuring security for all parties, and autonomy for the countries involved. Addressing the opening ceremony of the 9th ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting at the Soka Hotel in Siem Reap on Wednesday morning, Prime Minister Hun Sen remarked on Cambodia's experience of more than 3 decades of civil war and said that the country can share its experience with others to potentially aid in the process of peacemaking, peace building, peacekeeping, and post-war nation building.
ទី1 យើងត្រូវតែរក្សាទ្វារឲ្យចំហជានិច្ចសម្រាប់កិច្ចពិភាក្សានយោបាយនិងការចរចាប្រកបដោយបរិយាបន្ន ទី2 យើងត្រូវធានានូវសុវត្ថិភាពយុត្តិធម៌និងសុខុមាលភាពរបស់គ្រប់ភាគីទាំងអស់ ទី3 យើងត្រូវមានភាពម្ចាស់ការគណៈដែលកំពុងទទួលខុសត្រូវលើដំណើរការសន្តិភាពភាពជាម្ចាស់នៃប្រទេសជាតិពិតជាសំខាន់ណាស់សម្រាប់ការចរចាសន្តិភាព
The Prime Minister made these remarks while citing the scourge of civil war in Myanmar, the consequences of which are being felt across the ASEAN region. He added that 10 years ago, in 2012, the Prime Minister had asked ASEAN to consider the establishment of a no-civil war zone or no-conflict zone. However, at the time, no ASEAN member would consider this issue, which may have affected what is happening in Myanmar today. The current ongoing crisis in Myanmar began from a military coup on 1st February 2021, which saw the arrest of State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, President Win Myint, and several other ruling party officials by the Myanmar Armed Forces. Refusing to recognize the results from Myanmar's national 2020 elections, the armed forces handed over the country's leadership to the commander-in-chief of the National Army, Min Aung Hlaing. The coup sparked widespread protests in Myanmar with numerous armed groups opposing the military regime. Myanmar is now a country with 2 governments and about 20 ethnic armed groups. The ongoing conflict is one of the longest continuing wars in the world. In Cambodia, it has now been 23 years since peace and national reconciliation was achieved. The country presently has national unity under a single government, following Prime Minister Hun Sen's win-win policy. Achieving peace has allowed the royal government to focus on developing the country to this day. You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The chairman of ASEAN in 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen, has urged Southeast Asian nations to pay attention to health and climate security issues, as these issues are a major burden in the present and will continue to be in the future as well. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Speaking at the opening ceremony of the 9th Asian Defence Ministers meeting at the Soka Hotel in Siem Reap on Wednesday morning, Prime Minister Hun Sen said, "The COVID-19 pandemic is a wake-up call for us all to pay more attention to the health security. Climate security is another important issue that we need to mobilise more efforts and resources. Civil-military cooperation on all aspects of security is even more important. For the past 3 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused issues across the globe and in the ASEAN region, along with ongoing climate crisis that continues to cause global tensions. This month alone, 2 countries in Southeast Asia were hit by natural disasters, with Malaysia facing flash floods and Indonesia being hit by a devastating earthquake that has affected tens of thousands of lives." Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces and Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Hun Manait, paid a courtesy call to the Minister of Defense of the Republic of India, Rajnath Singh, on Tuesday evening on the sidelines of the 9th ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting in Siem Reap. EAC News reporter Dekanin has further details.
Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh spoke about the relationship Cambodia and India have maintained from the past until the present day and reaffirmed that India will continue to strengthen and expand this good relationship for the common interest of both countries and peoples. He also expressed his full support for Lieutenant General Hun Manait's candidacy as the future Prime Minister of Cambodia. In response, Lieutenant General Hun Manait thanked the Indian government, army, and people for their support of Cambodia in difficult circumstances after the Khmer Rouge regime and during the process of building peace, becoming signatories of the Paris Agreement, and also sending peacekeepers under the United Nations umbrella to Cambodia. The Indian Defence Minister and the commander of the Cambodian army mutually agreed on the need to further strengthen and expand relations in all fields, especially people-to-people ties and defence cooperation, which must be maintained for the long term. Dekanin, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The Secretary of State of the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, M. Chan Makara, has emphasized that the Ministry of Social Affairs and General Secretariat of the Disability Action Council are committed to ensuring that all women and girls, especially women and girls with disabilities, have equal rights, equal opportunities, and protections, and will also have their voices uplifted in the decision-making process. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Secretary of State M. Chan Makara expressed this commitment on behalf of the Ministry of Social Affairs, Vong Sut, during the training course of basic knowledge of the interconnection between gender and disability and negotiation skills for women with disabilities at the Sunway Hotel on Wednesday morning. The Secretary of State noted that the COVID-19 pandemic and geopolitical tensions have led to rising inflation, which is affecting people's livelihoods. Although the COVID-19 situation has improved, some people in society have fallen under the poverty line and increasingly vulnerable to unemployment, health problems, malnutrition and other hardships that disproportionately affected women, especially women with disabilities. He added that the Royal Government of Cambodia has launched a social assistance program to meet the needs and improve the living conditions of people living in poverty. The government has mostly notably provided cash support to the poor and vulnerable families during the fight of COVID-19. The Royal Government has provided social assistance to a total of 706,060 poor and vulnerable families, including 64,709 families with disabilities, amounting to more than $800 million from the state budget. In addition, more than 8 billion real has been provided to pregnant women and children under the age of 2, including 185,229 pregnant women and 108,287 children under the age of 2. Secretary of State M. Chan Makara outlined how the Royal Government of Cambodia has also set out and ensured gender equality for women with disabilities, set in the government's 7th strategic direction with a clear vision of importance of gender equality and the empowerment of the women with disabilities, which is an effective way to achieve sustainable and inclusive development. In addition, he said that in recent years, the Ministry of Social Affairs have paved the way for the new and more open opportunities for women and girls with disabilities. In order to take full advantage of the National Disability Strategic Plan, this includes particularly creating skilled job opportunities for women and facilitating success of finance and training of women entrepreneurs to expand their businesses. The Secretary of State of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Secretary-General of Disability Action Council confirmed that the Royal Government will soon implement 2 more social assistance programs, a cash assistance program for vulnerable families facing inflationary pressures and cash support for programs for flooded-affected families. Secretary of State M. Chan Makara also assured that the Ministry of Social Affairs clearly recognises that women and girls with disabilities around the world disproportionately face gender disability, discrimination, as well as poverty, violence and other forms of stigma, especially when compared to men without disabilities and women without disabilities in the Asian Pacific region. He said that in the National Disability Strategic Plan 2019 and 2023, in its 7th strategic direction, focus is entirely on gender issues and ending the use of violence against women and girls with disabilities, with the emphasis on the rights of women and girls with disabilities and preventing all forms of gender equality. He said, "I strongly believe that organising this training course will allow children of women with disabilities to participate, discuss, negotiate and look for support to make attending their full rights a reality, and led to the elimination of all forms of discrimination and violence." Senior officials of the Ministry of Social Affairs call on all citizens to increase awareness in the disability field and to especially work together to prevent all forms of violence against women and girls with disabilities so that Cambodia can become a country that is violence-free for all. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. The ASEAN chair and Prime Minister of Cambodia announced the summit's successful conclusion and many significant accomplishments. Prime Minister Hun Sen officially handed over the ASEAN chairmanship to the President of the Republic of Indonesia for 2023. Prime Minister Hun Sen said that Cambodia's 1 year as ASEAN's chair was filled with many memories and has made history for the country. He emphasized that there were many challenges, both regional and global, that seriously affected security, the economy, and society. However, he affirmed that ASEAN has satisfactorily coordinated and addressed those challenges. He said, "I am pleased that the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits and related summits have been successfully concluded, and I would like to thank ASEAN member states and international partners for their full collaboration, support, and consideration, which brought forth many accomplishments to be proud of." From 10th to 13th November 2022, 16 summits were concluded. This was a challenging task, especially at a time when the world is dealing with complex regional and international issues that are changing rapidly. Nevertheless, ASEAN was able to hold thorough and fruitful discussions over the course of these 4 days about how to move forward and strengthen the bloc and the value of relations with external partners. ASEAN also adopted and acknowledged 70 documents and declarations that cover the 3 pillars of the ASEAN community, as well as a number of other frameworks on collaboration with dialogue partners. One highlight of the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits was that Ukraine signed onto the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia in order to maintain and deepen ties with ASEAN partners. 6 other countries, including Denmark, Greece, the Netherlands, Oman, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, signed the EAC at the 55th ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and related meetings in August, bringing the membership total now up to 50. Furthermore, ASEAN issued a joint statement on the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the signing of the declaration in 2002. Regarding the recovery of the ASEAN community, the bloc adopted the Leadership Vision Statement ASEAN ACT Addressing Challenges Together, the ASEAN Leader Statement on the 55th anniversary of ASEAN, and the ASEAN Leader Statement on ASEAN Connectivity Post-2025 Agenda. In addition, following the second ASEAN Women's Summit on 12 October 2022, ASEAN adopted the joint statement on building a sustainable, environmental, and resilient future through inspiring ASEAN women entrepreneurship. At the same time, ASEAN was pleased to hold the second ASEAN Global Dialogue to exchange views on building a sustainable and inclusive ASEAN in the post-COVID-19 era. Prime Minister Hun Sen emphasized that ASEAN is the main driving force for communication and collaboration with external partners via ASEAN-led mechanisms. He said, "No matter what the situation, we must maintain ASEAN unity for the maximum benefit of the whole region. Promoting unity and solidarity will remain our top priority for years to come." He further added, "Regardless of the circumstances, we must maintain ASEAN unity for the benefit of the entire region. Our main objective will continue to be encouraging solidarity and unity." The ASEAN chairmanship was officially handed over to the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, on Sunday, symbolized by the handing over of the official ASEAN chairmanship gavel. It will be Indonesia's 4th time assuming the chairmanship. Indonesia was also the first country to ever host the ASEAN summit in 1976. You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Sen has confirmed that the watches made by Cambodia for the heads of delegation attending the ASEAN summit are worth more than $20,000 each. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more.
Speaking at a press conference on the outcomes of the 40th and 41st ASEAN summits and related summits at the Peace Palace on Sunday, the 13th of November 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen said that these watches were produced to show that Cambodians can do it. He said, "What it really means is that I want to reassure our partners that youngsters in Cambodia are capable of making watches as presents for the heads of delegations." The Prime Minister of Cambodia said that he will continue to wear this watch at the ASEAN Summit next year. As the ASEAN chair in 2022, Prime Minister Hun Sen produced 25 watches as gifts for the heads of delegations attending the 40th and 41st ASEAN Summits and related meetings. The Prime Minister stated that a unique feature of this watch is that only 25 units are available worldwide. He emphasized the conclusion of the 8th to the 13th of November 2022 ASEAN Summit and related summits and additional bilateral meetings as one that was successful and fruitful. Dekanin, EAC News.
You're watching EAC News. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Hun Sen, the 2022 ASEAN chair, has expressed appreciation for Canada's proposal to enhance ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations to the level of a comprehensive strategic partnership through negotiations on the ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement. At a bilateral meeting on Saturday, Prime Minister Hun Sen said that enhancing ASEAN-Canada relations to the level of a comprehensive strategic partnership is a step in the right direction for promoting closer ASEAN-Canada relations. The ASEAN chair stressed that the recent opening of negotiations on the ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement is a positive first step, which will promote economic recovery in both regions in a sustainable and resilient manner after the COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, said that he hopes this agreement will help create opportunities for further deepening cooperation in the digital economy and advanced technology between ASEAN and Canada. Prime Minister Hun Sen stated that for the past 45 years, ASEAN has been committed to a common aim of upholding peace, stability, and prosperity in both regions. He added that the long-term partnership between ASEAN and Canada has brought outstanding achievements in all fields and made significant contributions to addressing regional and global challenges, especially in improving the well-being and livelihoods of the people. ASEAN-Canada dialogue relations were established in February 1977 after the first official meeting between the Secretary of State of Canada for Foreign Affairs and the ASEAN Standing Committee. In 1981, the ASEAN-Canada Economic Relations Agreement was signed, laying the foundation for industrial trade and technical cooperation between the two sides. In 2020, trade between ASEAN and Canada amounted to $16.2 billion, and foreign direct investment from Canada into ASEAN was $5.1 billion.
Creating opportunity.
The Secretary of State of the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation and Secretary General of Disability Action Council, M. Chan Makara, has praised the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts for playing an important role in improving the living conditions of persons with disabilities in Cambodia. Speaking at a seminar on the dissemination of laws and regulations related to disability at the Ministry of Culture on Wednesday morning, Secretary of State M. Chan Makara, representing the Minister of Social Affairs, Vong South, said that the encouragement of the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts for persons with disabilities in Cambodia contributes to helping persons with disabilities live independently. He said that the organization of this workshop shows the attention the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts, especially the ministry's working group of persons with disabilities, pays to the implementation of the National Disability Strategic Plan 2019 to 2023. He added that persons with disabilities face many different obstacles in society, including discrimination and stigma. Persons with disabilities face these negative attitudes in all aspects of life, including in culture and fine arts. Secretary of State M. Chan Makara said, "If we can change the mindset of people who believe that disability leads to unhappiness and stop the association of negative perceptions with persons with disabilities, which creates stigma, discrimination, and denial, then culture and the fine arts can really contribute to making the dreams of persons with disabilities come true, making achieving equal rights a reality." In this regard, he outlined a number of factors that can contribute to addressing negative perceptions about persons with disabilities, the participation of persons with disabilities of arts and cultural arts, facilitation in the disability views on